Hello, my name is Maddie Howell, and I am a member of the LSU Flores MBA program class of 2025. For my personal negotiation, I decided to propose a partnership between myself, a group fitness instructor at FitCore, Molly Drago, the owner of FitCore, and William Mills, the owner of Alinea Performance, an outpatient PT clinic in Baton Rouge with a specialty in pelvic health. Molly and William's powers are very similar, given that their leverage is based on their staff, clients, and access to equipment, plus their stake in this business relationship. While I also have relationship power, my relationships with the two of them individually allow me to serve as a link between their two businesses, thus also giving me contextual power in this scenario. Molly and William both want to increase and diversify their clientele. Molly is more focused on enhancing membership experience, whereas William is looking to increase brand awareness in a highly saturated PT market. For me, the goals are more personal. I'd love to increase my own opportunity so that I could also either reframe my position in FitCore's business model or set myself up for future ownership of my own business. Many steps of the negotiation process were already established before negotiating began. I did have to conduct a lot of secondary research so I could use my knowledge to create a logical connection between the two businesses. Closing the deal and implementing the agreement proved to be most challenging. While a partnership was agreed upon by all parties, the implementation of said agreement is limited by timing, staffing, and monetary requirements. Here you will see a visual of the 4 tactics I used. When looking at my own personal gain, however, the trial balloon tactic was the most telling. I used this strategy to see how Molly and William would feel about me hypothetically using my Pilates knowledge to work solely for a PT clinic. Molly's reaction hinted at her subtle disappointment. However, it did help me gauge how far this partnership could progress before I had to move on from my role at FitCore if I did choose to do so. Active participation was a critical component of the process here. I established an open line of communication between everyone, and I heavily encouraged dialogue, follow-ups, and benchmarks that kept us all engaged and on task. By framing this partnership through an aspiration lens, I was able to touch on how we could all satisfy our broader personal and professional interests. Finally, I implemented 2-sided messaging to highlight how failing to join forces would potentially result in a misuse of time and effort for everyone. This created trust in me and my abilities and in the task proposed. On the peripheral side of things, my strategy relied on my physical appearance, attributes, and knowledge. The knowledge I've gained from my husband's journey as a physical therapist, plus my own secondary research and experience in the fitness industry, helped create credibility in the eyes of William and Molly. This presentation of my knowledge also enhanced how I presented myself to them as well. I showed up with the best version of myself ready to go so that they understood I valued their time and this proposal as a whole. As was mentioned before, the implementations of some frames are limited. However, monthly seminars, resource sharing, and trimester reviews are already up and running. Shadowing and a shift in the approach to physical therapy itself require more logistical work and legal framework. In order for both businesses to reap the benefits of said implementations, Molly, William, and myself must make sure we follow the correct steps so that this partnership is approved and covered by insurance, among other relative parties. On the procedural side of things, I relied on agenda setting and active participation. By creating and distributing an agenda, we were able to stay on task without going off on tangents that were unrelated to the business proposal. My active participation method was one that truly fostered a creative and collaborative negotiation. I used a software that allowed us to answer questions and review answers simultaneously. By showcasing everyone's responses, this app made our discussion relevant and more applicable to the future goals of Alinea and FitCore. In this network diagram, you can see how I serve as a linking pin or a connection between William and his business and Molly and her business. This diagram also provides a visual representation of my contextual power in this unique situation. In summary, while this partnership is multifaceted and very complex, it is not only a logical proposition, but it could also prove to be very profitable for Alinea, FitCore, and me as an individual. All parties agreed to enter into this deal, and various steps have already been taken to move along. However, Molly is opening a new studio in July, so many of the more cost-heavy frames will have to wait until the timing makes more sense for her and her business model. We will all meet again in 3 months to discuss what our future looks like. As it pertains to my BATNA, I could ultimately move away from FitCorps completely and partner with William to use my skills and expertise solely for his clients and clinic. Given my relationship with Molly and my current financial situation, it is important to note that this does not necessarily make sense at this current point in time. However, it could always be revisited in the future. Thank you.